is Beth Casteel, and I am reporting for the Cleveland Stater. For this podcast, I spoke with Amiyra Alveranga about her new set of, I guess you could call them workshops, and it is called the Financial Literacy Series. It's essentially a series that teaches students important financial tips and tricks, but I'm not the expert here at explaining this, so why don't we turn it to Amiyra, who actually does know what she's talking about. So in your own words, could you please let us know what the Financial Literacy Series actually is?
So it's a couple of different things. So first and foremost, it's something that the feedback that I get from students in the classroom has led me to believe that they may want, but it's not just for students, it's for faculty and staff also. So the ideal is to try to bring some of the financial literacy concepts to as many people as possible, all at once. I currently do a lot of the ASC 101, the financial literacy components, like I'll pop into the classroom, but that's mainly freshman students. And like, what about our upper level students?
Yeah.
Our professional students?
Right.
Our graduate students, like they have different needs, but a lot of the core concepts carry over. But unfortunately, I'm only one person, and I don't have the capacity to like sort of go out to different classrooms and that kind of thing. So in conceptualizing the series, it was like, well, what can I do? How can I bring this to as many people as possible, and also give them the value that I think they all deserve? So I made a connection with the Skylight Financial Group originally.
Okay.
And they were really willing to come and do a couple of different workshops for us. And I had pre-designed what I wanted covered in this first year. And it kind of mirrored a lot of what I talk about in the financial literacy presentations for like the first year experience course.
Okay.
So like it starts off with like, well, what is financial literacy? You know, spending plans and budgeting and that kind of thing. I was like conceptualizing something that would cover as many different topics for the population we have on campus, and to be able to get as many people to sort of be able to come at once as they could. And also because I'm, like I said, at capacity. I can't do it anymore myself.
That's fair. What was the process of like picking out either the topics that would go through or like the group?
Skylight Financial Group.
Yeah. I've seen
so they're the people presenting for 3 out of 6. There's 6 total events between now and April of 2018.
Okay.
So 2 for the fall, and they did both the programs for fall. Part of it was because one of their employees is actually a CSU alum.
Oh, okay.
And I knew her back when we were both students here. So she was able to sort of talk with them. I knew I wanted to bring outside professionals in. Because not only am I only one person, but you know, I'm not licensed. I can't tell you what to do with your money, and I never would. I could tell you what it is, the tools that you should be considering, but they can actually tell you things and say, hey, you know, these are the best practices. These are the folks that we see. But like, how many people on campus, students, staff, or faculty have the discretionary income to hire a professional, the wherewithal to hire a professional? Or like sometimes it could be the embarrassment of talking with someone about your finances, because people seem to think that this is something that's deeply private. And so this is a chance to like have the professionals come, and at no charge to you, you can talk with them, and you know, they can tell you what they think you should know and that kind of thing. Through my connection with the woman at Skylight Financial Group, they connected me with Vestige. Vestige focuses on identity theft, and identity theft is going to be one of the series in spring. And so they're coming on campus to cover the identity theft component. For credit, I have a connection at College Ave, which is a student loan company, through my work for the financial aid office, my other day job. And she and I were chatting about like financial literacy and what she wishes people knew before they took out private loans. And on our end, we're processing all the loans, federal or private. And I was telling her like what I was trying to do with students and how I would love to be able to expand it so that I'm reaching more people, and people who really need some of the information, sometimes more than others because they're about to graduate and this is weighing on their minds. And she said, well, our company is connected to Experian. Well, Experian is one of the 3 major credit bureaus. And she said, if you could bring us a crowd, I'll bring Experian to your campus. So that's how we sort of built this sort of concept where it was like, well, Experian's going to come in April, which is Financial Literacy Month. So leading up to that, what can I do to get the campus excited to make sure that they have the crowd they require in order to make this happen? And all of it at no charge.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And then the other event is actually a financial literacy fair, and that's fully hosted by the financial aid office. So my outside people, they're doing their thing, but this is where I'm going to reach out to all the other offices on campus and say, hey, I know you guys because let me step back, I'm sorry. Because a lot of people think financial literacy is strictly money directly, but they don't think about the indirect. So they don't think about discounts being a part of financial literacy, using your Viking card being a part of financial literacy, knowing what a general fee dollar is, and then realizing that t-shirt was not free. So as a part of financial literacy, getting the most for your money, right? Whether it's directly or indirectly. So the financial literacy fair is a chance for me to sort of draw on some of the folks on campus who I know don't get as much attention, particularly when it comes to how students are spending or thinking about their money. And this one is really specifically for students, but everyone is completely welcome. So I'm hoping, because it's not set in stone yet, the fair is, but I'm hoping to get buy-in and involvement from say study abroad, because you get credits for this and you can travel, and it makes you stand out on your resume, so it's actually an excellent investment in your education. Versus going somewhere on spring break that's not tied to it, or Viking expeditions where you get to do service and it's cost effective because they help you with the travel and it can go on your resume. So thinking about those offices, or our police department, what happens if a student thinks they've been a victim of identity theft? That's an entire process, So you want to be able to talk with the professionals. What can you do to sort of, we don't talk in terms of protecting yourself anymore, because protecting yourself 100% is a fallacy, but how do you mitigate? How do you mitigate if something happens, or how do you preserve your identity as best you can, and what are the warning signs?
I guess my last real question, I always like to end interviews with this. Is there anything that you would like to add that I didn't touch on that you think students should know about the financial literacy series, or anything like that you think would be important?
Let's see.
And it's always a question. I feel I should preface an interview hey, by the way, I'm gonna ask this, and I never do, and I should do that.
To think about it.
I know, I'm the worst.
Well, one thing they should know, if nothing else, is that this isn't another assignment. It's not another sort of competing voice on campus trying to get them to buy into this so that we get more money. No, none of this is actually costing them anything. It's not coming from general fees. It's actually free instead of free. For the sole purpose of giving back to them, giving them something that they may or may not recognize as missing. But in this country overall, we have a huge debt crisis. And it's not just mortgages or consumer debt, when they used to talk about credit cards all the time. Now student loans have far exceeded that. We're in $1.6 trillion for student loans.
Oh, wow.
And there's things you can do, but it's seriously, do you want to spend your whole life working on your debt when there's stuff you could do now? It's hard to sort of take a look at what your situation is and kind of figure out what you can and cannot do. And sometimes you may not have any options, but the options you don't have this year won't be the same options that are available the following year. So even if you're stuck now, you can plan for the future. And it's important that we start thinking about our short-term and long-term futures, because this whole education process is really just a small journey. And that end goal may be getting the diploma and finding another job and all that stuff. But do you really still want to be paying for the coffee you bought 10th when you were in your 10th week or something of freshman year?
Yeah.
When you're 50?
That's fair.
And then it's depending on what you want to do in your career, you kind of need to pre-plan how like student loans fit with that. And even if you don't have student loans, we have people coming out who don't know how to like manage their bank accounts or savings, or like what's the best way to actually use a credit card. So like I don't tell people to get credit or not get credit, because this really depends on your individual goals and your values and what your financial situation is. But if you're going to have a credit card, you should at least know like why, like what the general best practices are. You know, like, no, you don't want to use it for your groceries, especially if you're not paying it off each month. And it's not because people are lecturing you, it's because your interest rate is like 10 times what you get on your bank account. If you're lucky, right? I mean,
that's fair. Okay, well, I think that is all that I had